We're live, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I will walk around.
Okay.
You can make sure, like, you can check your video, and then we'll cut everything off and then go back to the about to begin. Mic check, mic check. 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 Can you see, is the camera angle okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then podium mic check.
Go ahead and hit mute.
everybody. Thank you for calling me up here. So really quick, I'd just like to honor our science department at Anderson High School for receiving the Thomas Edison STEM Award. And we run this through our biology program and wanted to quickly honor our teachers that teach science at Anderson, specifically Alex Bove, Dave Brandon, Caitlin Calder, Justin Good, CC Graff, Jeff Granger, Corey Larson, Holly Loudon, Paige Orrick, Bailey Schaaf, Courtney Snyder, and Troy Spitzmule. This is really a cool award. I was kind of hoping actually Dave would be here, but he coaches, and a number of our teachers are highly involved helping with homecoming, student activities, and things like that, as you can understand. But really excited about that and really wanting to share this with you. Any questions, Ellen?
No, I'm wondering, Josh, can you maybe share some of these publicly, some of the examples of some of the awesome things they're doing?
Yes, definitely. It's going to be shared publicly. It trickles into us, so the iron is hot. So
Yeah.
we had a board meeting coming up. Definitely wanted to share that with you. But I know for a fact Josh and his team is on, as is Anderson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Item 5.1, reports of the Board of Education and the Forest Hills Teachers Association.
Hello and good evening to the board once again. Yeah. The Forest Hills Teachers Association would like to provide a brief update regarding the work of our building advisory committees, known as BACs, and the district advisory committee, known as DAC. Apologize for my voice. My seventh graders were very, very kind to me today. I'm very quiet on my voice. So, our advisory committees are born from language in our negotiated agreement to help ensure clear communication and the smooth functioning of our district as one educational system. Well, while I won't bore you with the details of our contract language, I will hit some highlights for you. Each school's building advisory committee has recently convened to begin addressing building level topics. The process involves agenda sharing prior to monthly meetings. That includes feedback from both administrators and teachers, identifying areas for collaboration. These building level committees provide a vital channel of communication, ensuring that building specific concerns can be raised and resolved constructively. The district advisory committee will meet later this month, bringing together representatives from both Forest Hills School District and Forest Hills Teachers Association. This committee helps to ensure consistency across the district and creates an opportunity to address topics that might extend beyond individual buildings. Together, the BAC and DAC process strengthen communication and problem solving. The Forest Hills Teachers Association appreciates the district's continued support of these advisory structures, which reflect our shared commitment to collaboration and the success of every student. Thank you for your time.
Next, Forest Hills Foundation for Education.
Good evening. On behalf of the Forest Hills Foundation, it's hard to believe we're almost a month in this school year, which is crazy. I will say that the year kicked off great. If you want to head to my next slide. Some highlights from just the last month on behalf of the foundation. We were honored to attend all the back-to-school events, as well as we hosted a sponsored networking event at Mercer Social House. And I like to specifically point these two out in regards to it really takes a community to come together to support the needs of kids, and how clearly parents play a clear role in that, without a doubt, as well as local businesses. And so we were glad to participate in most of those events. And we are super excited. We will be recognizing 9 individuals on October 3rd for our Distinguished Alumni Awards. Just wanted the ability to highlight them and could share more details about the luncheon that's coming up We have three distinguished alumni, and we actually created a new award this year called the Distinguished Service Award for Alumni. There was an overwhelming level of applications we received about what services and how people give of their time and their talents in their communities. So John Raymond, 1976 grad from Anderson High School. As someone told me, if you're at Anderson, you know John Raymond. So we're thrilled to recognize him. Keith Pandolfi is a food and dining writer, currently for the Cincinnati Enquirer, and was also James Beard award-winning food journalist. Dr. Noreen Durrani is an acute care surgeon at St. Elizabeth Medical Center, and our distinguished Anderson Service Award is going to Joe Moon, who worked at Great Oaks for many, many years, and also did a ton of coaching, volunteer teaching in the Forest Hills School District, particularly at Anderson as well. For our Turpin recipients this year, Samantha Bosch Cleaver, she actually is the current director of the Residence and Community Engagement at Empower Me Living, and it's an opportunity to continue to provide residence and supports for individuals with disabilities. If you know the band The National, Brian Davendorf and Scott Davendorf graduated from Turpin 93, 91, and they are 25-year touring band and also received a 2017 Grammy Award, which is pretty cool. A couple fun facts about them, they actually started at Wilson and then went through Turpin, and they started at a very young age in the arts, including music, and how Forest Hills played a huge part in their success. And then our Distinguished Service Award from Turpin is Abby Denon. Again, if you have any kids that are athletes at Naval Middle School, you know Abby. She's fantastic, and we're thrilled to recognize her as well. And then the last one, I forgot this slide, we do every year recognize a staff member. And for those that have heard the name Dale Swisher, he actually was a music director and orchestra director from 1965 to 2000 at Anderson High School. So a 35-year career at Anderson. So we are thrilled to recognize all those individuals. Our Distinguished Alumni Luncheon will be on Friday, October 3rd at Ivy Hills Country Club. It is open for anyone to attend. So if you are interested, it's a $50 luncheon fee, and we hope that you can join us. Also, just a couple more updates. We will be kicking off our online fundraising campaign at the end of this month, particularly with the campaign titled Rooted in Hope and Strength. So for the past 13 years, the foundation has been supporting all Naval School activities, tutoring, as well as transportation home. And I recently had a conversation with a parent who had kids in 5th grade, and she's like, wait, what do you do? So we really believe in the importance of having kids having the opportunity to find their place to belong, and working closely with the Naval team and staff, knowing that's a big transition year. So our goal this year is to raise $20,000, and we also have a matching gift of $20,000. So just more information to come on that. And then in addition to the funds raised, we'll also support Sources of Strength, which is in our second year here at Forest Hills. So just creating more awareness and education around the program and how that will be implemented 7th through 12th grade. And then lastly, our Denim and Diamonds fundraiser party, super fun. Just wanted everybody to know it's November 15th at Belterra again with the lovely entertaining Naked Karate Girls, and we'll have the online and live auction. So just save the date and more information to come from there. And then the last thing, which I feel like is our theme this year for the foundation, is about collaboration. And so I want to specifically highlight a successful way we've seen collaboration. We are in the midst of reviewing teacher grants right now. So the foundation received teacher grants totaling more than $260,000. Collaborative grants, we had 11 that are totaling almost $100,000. The reason I point that out is I always have said two things since I moved into this community. Is one, it shouldn't matter where you buy a house in Anderson, the opportunity your kids get as an education. And so collaborative grants truly impact every single school in collaborative ways. So a shout out to the teachers and the staff that submitted those collaborative grants, because that means we can have even a greater impact on kids' education across the district. So thank you.
6.1, superintendent update.
Thank you, Mr. Bibb, and members of the board. Happy Constitution Day. Across our district, we have done a variety of ways to celebrate actual writing of our Constitution just a few years ago. This is one of our first grade classes that got to make their own Constitution. And so we typically will post some more information about that as we get some pictures in to make the post kind of cool. We got this one early, so. But we typically do that in all of our elementary buildings. In our secondary, we recognize it through our social studies day. And in both high schools as well as our junior high. So just wanted you to, I thought this was pretty cute. So she set this in.
Should all have nice.
So, understand. Yeah, I thought that's pretty cool. The other day we received the state released the new report cards from the entire state of Ohio. So just gonna do a 10,000-foot overview just of what we're seeing. Things change every year. I've been around since the inception of state testing called the proficiency, 9th grade proficiency test, which they gave in 8th grade, which I never really understood that either, but, you know, but it's evolved every year. Something's added, something's changed, something's moved. And I'll touch lightly on it. Very proud of my team at both the central office level and at the building level. These guys just do tremendous work. Our teachers and our staff that prepare our kids. These are mandated tests, so it's not like, oh, let's just do that. We do that, and we really try to understand and dive deep into the weeds, which we will do, but it takes a little bit of time. So those just came out, just some interesting overview that I wanted you to be aware that we are at a 4.5 stars out of 5 stars, which is fantastic. Just again, we're in the top 12% of school districts in the state of Ohio. So it means that we've exceeded the state standards. Doesn't matter where we ever end up, we're always going to try to improve, always. It's kind of like the high jump room clear 7 foot. Okay, it's time to go 7-1. Here we go. So 69 out of 607 school districts. Only 4 Hamilton County high schools received a 5-star rating this year. Yes, I know who they are, and we don't compare. We're not like them in terms of the type of demographics. If you look at similar school districts in Ohio, they're not listed as one of our similar ones. But anyway, very excited about where we're at. Excited about where we can go. This is just a quick look. This is the 5-star. There's only 47 schools in Ohio that got it this year. And there's a reason. They've added another component to it, so I'll show you. So we're in this with the other 95 out of that 607 that received an overall 5-star rating. So excited about it. Looking forward to diving deep into it to understand where we're at, what we're doing. Because obviously when you get into the information, you start breaking down the types of questions and how to and at what grade level. The next piece just shows you those components. There's 6 components in the overall rating. They're all given different value. They're not all weighted the same, which makes sense. Achievement, in my opinion, has always been one that we need to do well, because this is about performance. This is about, are our kids doing well? Are they performing well? The main ingredient in this is the performance index. And I've always shot for 100, a score of 100. We're at 102 and change. So that's really good, but the grand total, you can only get up to 109 for us anyway. That's the ceiling. So we're pressing the limit, which is great. But I always want to be above that 100. I don't know why. That's, to me, that's high performance. That means you got the majority of your kids are testing, and that's 3rd grade through high school. They're testing at advanced plus, advanced, or accomplished. And those numbers have all been going up over the last 4 years for us. And proficient, basic, and limited, which is the lower part, has begun to shrink as kids move up, and that's fantastic. Progress, which is the second one, we had 4 stars, and that's really the growth of our students that they're making based on past performances, taking what they did a year before, and seeing how they're moving again forward. It's hard to really move up when you're already performing at a high level, if that makes sense. That's, so if I had to perform high in one versus the other, achievement is pretty critical. Doesn't mean we don't look for ways to improve. We'll always gap closing, 5 stars. That's basically there are subgroups within our school district, special education, economically disadvantaged are 2 highest numbers. Then you have different ethnic backgrounds, and it depends on those individually. We've done a good job of really helping elevate all of our kids. So fantastic work. Graduation, which I think is kind of important. It's hard to do anything if you don't have that degree, and so we're at 5 stars with that. The number that I'll share with you in a minute is really based off of the 4-year graduation rate. They also take a snapshot at 5 years. Okay, I'm still a little miffed at the state because they kind of ding us on our special needs kids, because kids can go until they're 22 years of age, okay, and don't have to take their diploma, okay.
Do they calculate it as they need to graduate 4 years? So my daughter, for example, went through and did defer her diploma for those 3 years. They don't count her as
Falls on deaf ears. But it's kind of funny.
Seems kind of ridiculous.
But
It does, it counts in our denominator. Like,
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's ridiculous.
Which is silly, but the state has never agreed to change that. Yeah.
And we pointed it out many, many times, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do what's right.
Yep.
That's right for kids, and that's what's important to me. So, early literacy. They added a component for us this year, because even our kindergarten kids get tested, just so you know. And this is what got us, went from 5 to 3 or 4 stars. If our we have to have 90% or better of our kindergarten kids on track, entering into kindergarten.
Don't think
So
that's
this time we had more than 10% that were not. And it's probably, likely it was phonemic awareness, or likely didn't know all of their letters. Because it's tested early in kindergarten. So it's how, they're not required to be in our preschool, and that's not a requirement. So that's an interesting one. I'm not sure why we didn't. Here's the important one as far as I'm concerned again. 100% of our 3rd graders advance to 4th grade. So you get them to us, and we'll take care of them. We'll teach them how to read. We'll teach them how to we're just going to educate them. We're going to help them out a lot. So that was kind of an interesting little caveat that they didn't test on us before, because we 90% of them. And I don't know, you can make, there's nothing, I've got zero evidence that says, okay, but it is that COVID group that's finally into it. Is that the rationale? Is that the reason? I have no idea. I can't say that other than things have been different since then in terms of people, you know, a lot of people were at home for a couple of years, and I don't know if that meant there was less numbers in preschool around, you know, that I wouldn't know that, so.
Larry, that hasn't changed in terms of the report card, though. They've always held this weird.
They had that there, but the first time it got up.
Right, where we've had, I think it was even 95% of higher kids show up in kindergarten on track. But I agree with you. I actually don't think that's a good reason not to collect the data, because to your point, Mark, we have really very little impact on that. So I'm actually happier to see our data in here. And my guess would be if we went back and looked, and I know Kim would have it, we have the data over the years, it's probably not that dramatically different.
It's not.
And it is something we need to be attending to, because what they're looking at is of our kids that were at risk in kindergarten, how many are we able to get on track by first grade?
That's a more important metric than anything else. It's not how we got them, it's what given them more now.
Well, absolutely, and what this says is we're not doing as well as we need to be honest. I mean, we need to do better by our kids in terms of accelerating their progress to get them back on track. So I think it's an important measure for us to have.
The other one that came in to play this year, and I don't know what to call it, caught it, most schools in the state, was the college career workforce and military readiness. Well, first of all, I'll get to that one in a little bit. I got a whole slide for that one, because I wanted to, it's funny because that particular one, they used information from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 23, 24 years. So we didn't have any, we hired Melody Hartong this past year to help us with developing more robust internship programs, which we're doing. You know, they're wanting kids that are going into the military to sign up before they get out and do their oath, so that they can get this deferred piece of paper prior to them leaving school. Well, I don't. We always have kids stand up because they're going into the military, but we got a 0 for that. So the methodology for reporting is, to me, very new. And I'm not sure we know exactly everything with that yet. I think that's what everybody will be jumping into. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in about 2 seconds. So, the component ratings, I just threw this up, and I'll leave that in there. It just shows you across the state, in those 6 areas, the number of schools. There are only 91 schools that got a 5-star and achieved. Again, I'm sorry, we're a school. We have to, that's important. Progress, only 57 schools had 5 stars in that. And I think there is probably a correlation to high achievement and progress, because there's just less of an area to get to improve. But you can see this, and I'll leave that. But I thought it was interesting down to college and career. This last one that he just added, this is where the bulk of people are, in the 2 to 3 stars. We started getting a few more here. Some of the schools, actually some of the rural schools, some of the schools that have tech programs and are more robust than the technology schools have, scored a little bit better. Like it or not, you say what you want, I'm just telling you, we're a college preparatory school. Most of our classes are CP and above. We get some We get some points for advanced placement, absolutely. We don't have a ton of CCP courses, but those are important. We are starting to add those as well, because most of our kids want to stick around. They don't always, we have some that'll go off to either UC or the Mount or one of the other area campuses, but most of our kids want to stay at their high school, which is, I think that's cool. That's nice. That's great. We want them to think it's a good place to be. So I think we just have to keep growing this component. But it's just an interesting piece. It's just data again. So key statistics, like I said, I already mentioned performance index score of where we're at. The highest maximum score is 109. So we're still in this rarefied air in terms of performance, which is great. Graduation is at 96 plus, 5 years, 98 something. We want our kids to graduate, obviously. That's important. CCW MR, college and career workforce military readiness, I already mentioned, is information from 2 years ago. So the big key is going to find out by graduation who's enrolled. Does that mean you're accepted or does that mean you're enrolled? To be determined here. Enlisted, already kind of touched base on that. I don't know. My next question is, it's easy enough if it's a state college that they should be able to get that number to the local schools that they are enrolled. A UC could easily, or an Ohio State, or you could get it to us. Enlisted, I don't know where that's coming from unless they reach out to us if it's done after the fact. So we're still digging around on this. This is going to be an area that we're going to turn upside down and find out how we make sure that happens, and if that's a different reporting mechanism than what's going on, I don't know. And the employed deals with, like I said, our workforce programs. Are they employed currently? Does the boss sign off? Who's going to do that in EMIS? Is that an EMIS thing yet? That's the other piece. So a lot of that to come, and we'll be able to give you some more information as we go about with that. And the early literacy, like I said, I already kind of talked about that, so I don't really, but that's based off of our iReady scores, or our iReady platform. So we use our cut scores, and we just hit that 90%, and dipped under that, and so that added that extra third measure for us. We just we need more support. We need to make sure that it's we really identify what that issue is. Is it letters? Is it phonemic awareness? What component is it? And we will intervene and help those children perform at the best they can be and get them on grade level. Last one I just wanted to, this came in since the last board meeting, right after the last board meeting, and you may have, I think I threw it out to you guys, but I also want our community to understand, really excited. Congratulations to our high schools, but before I just say great job high schools, you got to understand those high school kids were junior high kids, and they were elementary kids in our system. That everything is a spiral, and it works up to their performance. So these kids, if you're a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, and a second grade teacher, you can look at those kids and say, yes, I had something to do with that, and that is absolutely correct. Same with our paraprofessionals, same with all of our people. You don't think a bus driver has an impact on how a kid performs that day? Yeah, they do. It's all about their mindset. They come into school. We've just got great people here, and I just want to continue to remind people that we have a fantastic program here. Anderson High School, out of 903 high schools, we're in the top 4.8% of all of them. Anderson's at 4.8, Turpin is at 1.8. I even had somebody, I'm not going to go into that. Not going to do it. But somebody questioned Ohio, and I go, okay, in the United States, then we're in the top 6%. Our high schools in the top 6% out of 17,901 schools that were looked at across the United States. So we're in rarefied air, and congratulations to our staff. And, you know, Chris, I really, you know, want to express to you and to all of your compadres, fantastic job. Let's keep it up. You know, it's neat to be around people that care about our kids, care about what we're doing. So, and the U.S. World Report considers graduation rates, test proficiency, AP exam performance, and the breadth of our college preparatory system. So, great job. Great job.
Why we're school district of destination.
That's why people like to come here.
Yeah, it's why people want to come here.
Larry, I had a couple of questions. Like, first off, like this stuff, U.S. News and World Report, it's awesome. As Mark said, it speaks to why we're a destination district. And I know these, you know, this report card is based on standardized tests and iReady, and our kids just get tested to death with this type of stuff sometimes. But with that said, there were some things that I noticed on there that I was hoping I could get some insight on that maybe are areas for improvement for the district. And you talked about some of them, but the reading diagnostics and the early literacy piece, like you spoke about the kindergarten portion. When I'm looking at the fall 23 and fall 24 reading diagnostics, it looks like what it's saying is that each year from first grade to second grade to third grade, a smaller percentage of our students are on track with their reading. So for 2024, for example, it's at 77.6% of third graders are on track with their reading.
Right.
But 100% of those third graders go into fourth grade. So, I mean,
There will be kids that will need intervention all the way into junior high and above. So, and we'll continue to do that and intervene for those kids. Again, you know, I was just trying to give you a 10,000-foot view. I want to give my cabinet, you know, some time to actually dig into it. Yeah, we saw that.
Okay.
We looked into that. But I'd like them to look in and see why. And they'll have that ability to do so. And I believe we got a TNL committee meeting. I don't have the date in front of me. That's coming up.
October 20th, 21st.
So by then we'll have some at least, yeah, I know somebody was going around.
Jody was asking
Getting
us.
all those dates. But that'll help. I think that gives us a chance to really give us an opportunity to look a little deeper into what that means in areas that we can define, yes.
yeah, I'm definitely not trying to put you on the spot or
Oh, no,
anything with it.
that's
I'd love at a future meeting to get some, like from those meetings where you're digging into the data, some insight into maybe both on the successful things, like what did you identify that we're doing that leads to high achievement? But also on some of those other things, like where might we be falling short and what can we be doing a little bit differently? Even with the college and career readiness, like I know Melanie's doing an awesome job, but how are we internally assessing what we want to see out of that program? Like forget what the report card says. Like, we should have targets that we're trying to reach with that, and you know, to what extent are we reaching those? What can we do to make sure we're reaching those more efficiently, et cetera?
I think we can do what we can do later. Again, I'm just kind of thinking about this, such as Melanie is maybe at a later board meeting, have her just come and actually go over her program and what we are doing, trying to accomplish. And we can kind of see how those match, but that would be, I'd want to give her some time. Obviously, I think our cabinet is really good at digging into our data.
Yep.
So I'm excited about hearing what it is and what we can really, you know, laser focus on improving. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter, if we'd have been 5 stars, I'd been telling you the same thing. We're gonna try to improve, we wanna be a tick better. And we owe that to our kids.
I just had a curiosity question as a parent of my first recent graduate. We got a survey not too long ago asking some of these work questions. Is he working? Is he in a college program? And I didn't know if this was feeding into that in any way. The
We
questions
have like
were-
a year, I think a year in some of those.
So we received our rating for students who graduated 23-24 and had training for this to find out the different 11 hoops you can jump through in order to make finance. Given that we've learned the rules, it's really hard to look at seniors and say, oh, now I need you to do this. Our graduation rate is still high, despite the graduation rate. We still have to show like the 3 E's. And finding verification of that when the plane has already been built is difficult. So we did try to cast a net to see if there was any other information. And so after learning what we have a variety of systems we've put in place so that we should see this increase over time for sure.
Yeah, and be able to get that information earlier. I was just curious, actually, having filled it out. I wondered where that fit in.
Thank you.
You got our data.
And Larry, one more thing that's completely separate from this report card stuff. So yesterday, we had our presentation from Future Think. Is there a plan to share some of those enrollment projections more publicly? I know that was a public meeting, but it wasn't the normal meeting like this. Maybe a future superintendent update, or so we can kind of go through and let the public know where we're going, how that might affect our planning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can give the data, I'd want to probably thin it a little bit.
Yeah,
and
yeah, no,
you
I
guys
just-
can
for
see,
sure.
you know, as long as we see the general flow of what's happening with our enrollment. I mean, the big takeaway I got out of that was it's not impacting us hugely in any way to the point where we're losing enough students to have to be able to close a building or do any of that. It's just not there. Now, 5 years from now, things can change. And I would certainly encourage, my plan would be to do this every 5 years, even though it's a 10-year. I just don't, I think there's too many things 10 years out that nobody has a clue what's going to happen. And so if you can do it every 5 years, I think you can keep a pretty good handle on where your growth is, or loss, whatever that may be.
Some things that, I mean, as we're just doing the brief overview, that jumped out to me as well is, you know, we're not seeing evidence of just droves of kids leaving to go to private schools. Like, when the kids are starting in our district at kindergarten, they're persistent and staying through 12th grade. The biggest factors affecting declining enrollment are trends outside of our control, birth rate, new construction, that are affecting not just us, but the state, the country, and whatnot. So a very thorough report, and I think, you know, enrollment is just a topic that comes up in a lot of different contexts, and
We've done
these
lots
meetings
of
in
different
public as
places,
well.
yeah.
And so I think, just something Mark has said before, if we can communicate a standardized enrollment data that everybody is working from when they make assumptions, all the opinions, all that type of stuff, I think it would be really helpful to just get everybody on the same page.
Well, let me take a stab at that and share it with you at a board update and see if we get to it by the next board meeting. We could just do a brief presentation on just, I won't go into all of the survival ratio and all that other, but really what we're seeing in the trends.
Just to follow up on your comment, despite my report being boring, we went over last night. No, I'm hopeful, Jason, exactly right. We get that. I wouldn't mind doing that next month at the board meeting, making it pretty, making it graph. But I know Rob and I talked offline as well, that he's already taken a lot of those projections on students and is looking at the future impact on FTEs going forward. So we'll be able to tinker with that a little bit going forward as well. So again, back to your point, if we all have the same data, at least we're all having the same conversation. We may not least we're all coming from the exact same faculties.
And at the HR committee meeting, that's when Rob would move his
Right.
piece with FTEs and what that actually means for us,
Right.
you know, because we count a body as a body, versus
Right.
where the state will count them as a half a body for different things. I'm not quite sure why, well, I know why, it's all about money, but it is what it is. So, but yes, we do that, and Rob does a great job of tracking how many kids we have in our general ed classes, you know, and what's happening in our special ed ranks. So those are key pieces. Absolutely, we can do that.
Thank you.
7.1, proceed for public commentary. The board is committed to conducting its meetings in a productive, efficient manner to ensure that the meeting is completed in a reasonable amount of time, while also recognizing the importance of fair and adequate opportunity for public input. In order to conduct an orderly and fair representation of expression, the board will provide a period for public participation per policy P.O.0169.1 and the board meeting. Public participation will be a total of 30 minutes. Each speaker will have 3-minute time limit. More than 10 speakers, individual time will be adjusted down to 30 minutes. The board does not discriminate based on the individual content. The individual content of the speech and the point of the speaker. If several people wish to speak on the same topic, the time limit may be adjusted at the president's discretion. Speakers should be prepared to respond to questions from the board members seeking to clarify the issue. We have 2 speakers tonight. First up, Leanne Zimmerman. She's recorded.
Good evening. I'm Ann Zimmerman, and I'm here to talk to you again about Anderson's Parks. I can't see that part. And why they are such an important partner to the Forest Hills School District. I'm the co-chair of the committee to pass the park levy that will be on the ballot on November 4th. This levy will be a replacement levy. The current levy stops when this passes. This levy gives us a rate reduction over the current levy that is in place. It is 1.8 mil, which is less than the current levy rate of 1.9 mil. We as a township passed the capital levy in 2023, which authorized the park district to make a number of improvements in our parks, like the new turf fields and lights at Riverside or the pickleball courts at Kellogg Park. But none of that money from 23 is allowed to be used for the park's operations. To operate, maintain the fields, pay staff, and run programs, the park district relies on the operating levies that it has had in effect for decades. Unlike many other levies in Ohio, park levies actually expire after 10 years. That is an essential point to understand in making your choice in November. The school levies are continuing levies, as you're all aware. The park levy is not. If this ballot issue does not pass, the parks will lose their main source of revenue next year. They will no longer have the funds to maintain our parks and operate as a district as they do now. There is a direct connection between the Anderson Park District and the Forest Hills School District. Today I will share a couple more of these connections with you, and I'll be back next month to share some more. Last month, I explained how our parks act as a feeder system for our school athletics and how our school teams directly use park facilities. In addition to those previously discussed, our parks are a cost-effective investment in youth and education. The levy is a replacement, not a new tax. It will cost $63 per year per 100,000 value of your home. For that modest investment, the Park District maintains 9 parks and the Recplex, which serve thousands of students and families across the township. And on top of that, the average home in the township is worth about $15,000 more because of our park system. The total economic impact on the aggregate value of our homes in Anderson is $168 million. And for all this, for less than $300 per year, if your home is worth $450,000 or less, now that is a great investment for all of us, and it is a no-brainer if you ask me. Our parks contribute to a broader educational and community value. Beyond athletics, these parks support school events, outdoor learning, and extracurricular activities that are vital to our mission. I talk too slow, but our website, we do have signs in. Our website is preserveandersonparks.org. And if you go on there, anybody here in our audience or streaming, we will get one delivered to your yard.
And Anna asked you last month, but the social media stuff, is that up yet?
It is up. It's on Facebook and the others. It's Preserve Anderson Parks. And we have our webpage and it links it to you also. So we have social media going, signs are up. We're going to do some larger signs this next week. We're moving. We're getting a real positive response. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Jeff Knight.
Hey, Jeff Nye, 1000 Eversole. Two things to talk about today. One's kind of two-parters, so kind of three. And Larry, I think you touched on this in response to maybe Jason's question. Obviously, there was a presentation yesterday about enrollment projections. And, you know, while the overall number in the 34-35 school year is down, one of the things that I noticed is that in the younger grades at that point, the projection is actually up. And so I just kind of wanted to point out that looking at a bottom line number doesn't tell the whole story. I want to remind you that please look at the whole picture, whatever it is. Obviously, it's just one piece of information to consider. So I was going to suggest, redoing it again, and obviously it's already on the radar. So, good on you there. Second, and sort of related to this, I am interested to hear what the administration thinks like the actionable number is. Obviously, if you lose 100 kids across the district, it doesn't change your staffing or your facilities needs. If you lose 100 in every grade in every school, it's a very different thing. And so I wonder what the threshold is. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but at some point, I think parents would be interested to know that. And then if you do think you need to make a change, what do you look at as to how you make a change? Obviously, you look at where things are programmatically, the age of facilities, the geographic location of facilities. It's interesting to know what sort of things you put into that decision or analysis. So those are the first two things, 1A and 1B. The third thing is a little different. I'm a lawyer. I have a very small First Amendment practice, and so someone kind of brought this to me, I guess because of that, and since it is Constitution Day, I thought I'd bring it up. Apparently one of the student clubs is planning the next few days to host a memorial or a retrospective related to Charlie Kirk, who was murdered a few days ago. And what I want to say about this is that I will not be surprised if there are complaints or protests related to this. And if that happens, I really hope that we use this as a teachable moment in two ways. There's one obvious way. I think this is something that everyone in this room will agree on, which is that it's a teachable moment that we need to make sure our kids know that our political and social discourse cannot be defined or circumscribed by violence. It's never acceptable, ever, 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 regardless of whether you agree or disagree with them. And that's the obvious, easy, teachable moment I think we can all agree on. The second is the legal aspect of this. And if the district does get complaints, I hope that we remember that student clubs and after-school meeting spaces are designated or limited purpose public forums, and we have to be viewpoint neutral there. We cannot determine who can speak or hold an event based on whether we agree or disagree with Charlie Kirk or their message about Charlie Kirk, whatever. We cannot give in to a heckler's veto on this or anything else, and that's an easy teachable moment. Hope we keep that in mind. Thank you.
Jeff, I will say real quick about kind of that future planning and enrollment and whatnot. As part of our superintendent evaluation performance review, we had identified specific goals for the superintendent role, and one of them was to start using enrollment data and space data to explore future, like long-term facility planning and option needs. So this future thing, enrollment projections is kind of like the first step in that process that Larry's been working on to help us start moving down that path to think about what do our buildings look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. So we're getting there, hopefully.
Item 8.1, human resources. Mr. Fellows.
Good evening to the board.
Pretty straightforward HR report this evening. A couple retirements I'd like to shout out. First and foremost, on the certified side, Tara Kaiser, 8th grade science at Nagel, 27 years in Forest Hills School District, retiring at the end of this school year. And similarly, Christina Tkach, speech and language pathologist. As far as I know, she's been at Wilson almost her whole time, but she's been here 26 years, and we certainly wish both Tara and Christina an exciting final chapter here in their career as educators. On the classified side, we have 4 individuals for approval this evening for retirement. Doug Cornelison, 34 years at Wilson, and not to jump down, but you can see Christopher Dean Tibby also listed on here, 31 years in the district, both of whom you'll see down below. We held public notice and in compliance with the rehire, but they're listed for reemployment. So they're not gone for very long. They do have to stay away for a short period of time. But other than that, Bob Hartley, also known as 2Bob, not sure how many of you knew that, but Bob Hartley, 13 years in the district, is eager and excited to retire at the end of October. And then finally, Cynthia Howell, here for 8 years as a para at Wilson. She'll be with us the rest of this semester and retiring effective January 1. So we certainly wish all of them the best, and collectively among the certified staff, 53 years and 86 years among the classified folks. Item B, we have a number of resignations on both primarily the classified side. On the certified side, I would just point out that Jean Bodie is officially resigning. We did a 1-year stopgap with her for a rehire, and she has announced her intent to resign effective at the end of this school year. Obviously, wish her all the best as well in her final year at Wilson and Forest Hills. And on the classified side there, unfortunately, we've seen a handful of paras resign, and some of them quite unexpectedly at the last minute. And by the last minute, I mean it's unfortunately never a good time for resignation without somebody to step in those positions at the advent of the school year. So you'll see a couple there listed for Summit. We're actively working Jamie's team, and we have a final interview tomorrow to replace one of those positions. And then Kat Cipollone, you may recall, we were doing a job share with Kat over the course of this year, and for personal reasons, she's not able to do that for the rest of this school year. So thank Kat for all of her time in Forest Hills and the energy that she's brought, most specifically and most recently at Summit, and the training that she provided Ashley Shupka, who's stepping in her position there with Kyle Mack at the helm at the Summit B Nation. See a handful of appointments under item C and a bunch of supplemental contracts for various clubs, activities, and things like that. And a number of volunteers as well listed. Can't do things without our parents and volunteers in our midst. Always great to see those substitutes listed there. A handful of personnel changes, and you know, great to welcome in quite a few student teachers and folks getting in our midst and doing some practicum hours, some formal student teaching later this year. And it's not on my report, but I would also just mention, we have a number of individuals, paras, currently, who are in the process of obtaining their teaching degree. They're doing classes at night, and programs are cropping up all over the place to try to meet folks where they are, to try to accelerate their educational pathway. We have established a bit of a formal/informal partnership with NKU that has a para-educator program, and then also with Franklin University that has a similar program. So excited about those. Just thought I'd share that with you all. I would also point out, as I mentioned in Mr. Hook's board update last week, that the board's HR committee meeting that Mr. Hook referred to earlier tonight is scheduled to meet on the 10th of October at 4:30 at central office. And then lastly, just in light of individuals on our supplemental list for approval this evening, this is an action item. And so if there aren't any questions, the superintendent recommends the board approve the HR report and its attachments as listed. This is action.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll make a motion.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Bibb?
Yes.
Mrs. Jonas?
Yes.
Dr. Simmons?
Yes.
Dr. Strickler?
Abstain.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nine point one, business operation.
Good evening, everyone. This will be the beginning of the consent agenda with my two items this evening. The first agenda item is a very typical one at the beginning of the year, it's been the past few months, is resolution to declare impractical various schools with an updated list of students. That is 9.1. I'm assuming there are no questions about that. Thank you. And then item 9.2 is our annual bus purchases that we will be going through the EPC consortium. So this is a resolution to allow us to work with the EPC to secure the bus bids for this year.
Just for my own ignorance.
Yes.
Pretty much 4 buses every year, plus or minus.
That is the program, yes, because when you try to get a 15-year rotation, we want to, that keeps us in a good rotation.
That's what I figured.
Yes. Works out great. And with our mechanics, we can have them last 15 years.
Must have rear-ended.
Yes. All right.
John, I haven't heard any updates. I know at one point in legislation, we were hearing rumors about trying to get rid of the payment in lieu of transportation option. I haven't heard anything else about that from Columbus. They're still on break, so as far as we know,
No new news in that at this point. And then this is not an agenda item, but Dr. Strickler had asked a couple questions today, so I wanted to fill you in. One thing was she was getting some questions about the late arrivals and bus drop-offs and stuff like that. The answer is yes. It is happening, and it's not something we're pleased with. It's not something we're upset with. The challenge we're having is we are still starting 5 drivers down every morning. And if we can get the subs in and stuff, because you will see there are patterns where days are a little bit, some days are better and some days are worse. We are having everyone drive every day basically to the point that I have to go down and be the dispatcher. Richard has to drive, all our mechanics have to drive, and that is exceptionally problematic, obviously, because one big delay the other day was we had a bus broken down on the road, and literally no one legally could take another bus to them. Okay? I can't, no matter how much I want to, I can't jump in an empty bus and take anybody anywhere. I can do it once and then you'd be signing a termination paper on me, which I prefer not to happen. You know, so those are the challenges, but some good news with it, and I hate doing this because Larry and Alana and Rob, you know, all of a sudden, we feel like we're getting in a good spot. We bring on a couple people, which we did right at the beginning here, and then we had at least 3 people go out on long-term medical. So we're back at point blank. But right now, we have 3 in the pipeline. 1, we're waiting for the final state approval. He's done all this, everything, so final state approval. The other 2 are in training close to the end. So, but that's still going to be another few weeks before we could get them in. Now, we did do another bus rally this weekend, okay? You know, truthfully, it was a little bit of a surprise. I'd like to thank Josh for stopping by and checking us out. Weren't sure we were
going to start driving. Is that what I heard?
No. We won't talk about Josh driving the bus, but no, Josh came by to check on Richard and I. We did actually have more people show than we had anticipated. So in that, we're calling it, we have 3.5 opportunities.
I mean, one person short.
Well, let me explain, because this one I want to say real publicly, because this is pretty exciting. don't pick on children, okay? I know that's where you're going. Now, 3.5, we have 3 people who, 2 of them are actively looking for jobs, okay? The other one is planning his retirement in 6 months. Okay, so that's still one of the 3. The half is something awesome that we'd always hoped would happen, but actually happened. We had a Turpin High School teacher show up, and she walked right up to us and said, "There's no way I can run routes, I understand that, but is there any way, if I get a license, could I help with all the after-school events?" That would be tremendous, okay? Because that's where we really run into some challenges too. We have one day, if I'm making up this number, didn't we have like 7 trips that were supposed to go out by 2:30? So those are 7 buses that are taking someone somewhere, and then Richard and Sarah and Christy are doing their magic, combining the routes and stuff like that. We have the physical buses, we just don't have the drivers. So I'm putting the challenge out to all our staff. If there's any secondary teacher, truthfully, as much as an elementary teacher might want to help us, it's really, their timing wouldn't help. It's really pretty much Anderson and Turpin. If we could get a couple of those teachers to do that, and whether this young lady can actually have the opportunity and it works into her life to really pull it off. But it was exciting to see her there, so I wanted to publicly say that. I'm not going to say her name because I don't know if she wants me to say it. But it was real fun seeing her there, and she was actually good with the bus. Richard just let her kept cruising, and she was enjoying that. So, and then the other question you had when excuse me, Dr. Strickland, is about the Stop Finder app. Where we are with the Stop Finder app, it has 3 components basically. Let you know what your bus stop is and what the routes. After servers and all that got fixed and program issues, we had that is up and running and accurate. Not a happy rollout, but that app is working now. Okay. Number 2 that it can do is then send out notifications. Richard's been able to work on notifications, and it has dramatically decreased the amount of phone calls we're getting when a notification goes out. We know that the bus is going to be a little bit late. Because when I'm down there dispatching, the phone's ringing. And truthfully, the past couple times I've been down there, I've always been nervous because the phone hasn't been ringing. But Richard is attributing that to the communication piece. Okay, the 3rd piece is the one that we've been talking about, is the GeoNet. The actual name they use is GeoZone. Okay, on the phone that will tell you when your child is within a range of your household. Okay. Right now, we're not pushing that out publicly, saying that any parent who has an app, if they want to, they can figure it out. There's tutorials and stuff in there, okay? Because we don't do anything with it. There's nothing we can do. But every parent, and I think Wendy's comment was, the parent gets a ding, your child will soon arrive, and they're standing at the bottom of the driveway. That's because every app, yes.
It's less helpful with that.
You're right. And correct, that would be, but every app, once you're gonna, is set on, your GeoSet is set on top of your property. Okay? So that's the default. But I want to tell you why we're not pushing it out right now, because if you know, there's too many finders, I understand, it's bad parenting, but the Wayfinder, the tablets that go into the buses for the drivers, that's what will give us the highest degree of accuracy and all that regularly. And we are still working through that process as was planned. That was going to be a process of rollout slow, not get 54 of them one day and then all of a sudden everything goes blah, blah, blah. So, but those are the process. Once we get the pamphlets all set up, and we're confident that everything's right, we will push out another reminder to the parents with a little update of, where you can find your tutorials to set your GeoNet up.
So is there something that people who have multiple kids in the same school need to do? Because I still only have one kid that's showing in Anderson.
Again, that was,
So I need to uninstall and reinstall.
that has been, those were the many conversations we had with TransFinder at the beginning of the year. Those issues are right, should be rectified. If there's a one-off where something's not right, anyone can definitely reach out to myself or Richard, and we'll problem solve that one-off at a time, for sure.
So this is definitely helpful because I think we had talked up so much the different parts, including the GeoZone, and people were expecting that and wondering what was happening. So that is incredibly helpful in terms of understanding the pieces and how we're working on them and problem solving. The one other question I would have, and maybe it's related to the GeoZone piece, is I've even seen a notification come through when a bus was late. But the other comment I've gotten would have been several situations where buses are 15 to 20 minutes earlier than scheduled, and parents don't know their young kids have gotten off a bus at a stop, which is also concerning.
We do send out issues for earlier. Now, these are one-off things. We have found something out too. I'm trying not to get way deep in the process.
I know, I'm not trying to.
No, I know, but
I'm just trying to hear all of the different pieces, and I'm not bringing anything to you that I've only heard.
no, I understand. But there is one thing we did find out within the past 48 hours. As you know, they are refining those routes every single day. And for the past 20 years, the first month of school, they're tweaking routes and everything all the time. We found out though, or Richard found out, or Sarah, as they're making the edits, it doesn't pause. As soon as they make an edit, so let's just say Wendy's supposed to get picked up at 8 o'clock. They make an edit trying to reroute a route and do some sets, and it says 8:30 or drop off at 8:30. If a parent looks at that notification, boom, and doesn't look at enough, because when they go in and delete it, they may delete that. So we're trying, there's got to be a set with transfer that we can free edit without new times and stuff being forced out until we're 100% solid with them. So that's part of the challenge. And the other part too, truthfully, again, when they're rerouting midstream, literally today, I was not in the district, but I had my radio on. They were literally, one bus got behind, so they were divided up by 3, which all of a sudden you will get someone early, a bus drives by, they're supposed to be last on the route, but that bus can be the last kid, so they will come in. But we do have, with kindergartners, those are phone calls, no kindergartners ever left without a walk-home and things like that. That's on practice policy. So, again, I understand there's a little frustration out there, but all I can say is teams, busting their tail and trying to get it up, and I'm seeing improvement every day. So, and we'll keep looking for that. Any other questions? Okay, so with that said, at this time, I respectfully recommend that the board approve 9.1 and 9.2 as part of the consent agenda. Okay, thank you very much.
Next, 10.1, teaching and learning field trips.
Hello, good to see everybody again. Pretty standard request here for overnight field trips. We have some music field trips. Dr. Strickler, to your point, I double-checked the document. It says on the spreadsheet you saw, or you're approving Anderson Band, it is the Forest Hills School. That is how the form is written, so that's just a slight typo on what you were seeing. So I did triple check that with you checking. I was waiting, but no. So we're good on that. Additionally, request for orchestra field trip, and then our standard athletic field trips. Some of these might not happen, but we put them up because that's when the OHSAA tournaments are. Easier to do them at the beginning of the year instead of piecemealing throughout the year. So, any questions with that?
And it seems like there's only an assumption that Anderson would be going to Canton, Ohio. Not Turpin might be going there as well, right?
Turbans. I would like them to go.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Financial forecast and assumptions of treasury.
Did you see the email earlier? You may have responded, just asking for clarification around why we're looking at the financial forecast now, because I asked you last night, but there was an email today asking as well.
There was
so-
another email today? Okay, I sent one back to
To
Sarah.
Sarah,
Yeah.
yeah, just to,
Oh, did
make
I
sure
not
we all
reply
knew,
all?
so-
Oh, sorry, I didn't reply.
no, it's all right, just so everybody knows, because I had the same question last night, of didn't we just look at that, and isn't it November?
You
It's
did
not
just
yet.
look at that,
So-
you did just look at that, and we are back
So
tonight.
we've all asked, so just for the purpose of clarification.
Okay, good. Yes, we are back tonight. We were just here in May, much to the frustration of every school treasurer in the state of Ohio. What's that?
Julie's
You guys need to use your mics,
Oh.
no one can hear you online.
No one can hear me. Oh, sorry.
Everyone can hear me.
How about there? Is that better? Thank you. Okay, again, as I was saying, to the frustration of every school treasurer in the state of Ohio, yes, we are back again. House Bill 96, which was the budget bill, changed the timing and a few requirements of the 5-year forecast. So what it did, it changed the fall forecast to actually be August 31st, and the spring forecast to be the last day of February, with the caveat that fiscal year 26, which is what we're in, the first submission will need to be by October 15, 25. So unfortunately, that's our next meeting, so we need to approve it tonight so we can meet that deadline. The other thing that's, one of the things that has been so frustrating to the treasurers, but this is the way when a new bill is passed usually, is they're a little slow on formats and reporting and that sort of thing catching up. So I'm sure some of you noticed that as you got this report, unfortunately, the model's not been updated to the new requirements. So for example, it is supposed to be what this legislators called a 3-year projection. However, when they came out with the format, it's actually going to be year 1, the one you're in, is going to be budgetary. It is supposed to be appropriation-led, and then 3 years projected from there, so 4 future years. And as I said, the model still has 5 years in it, so treasurers are looking at that. We don't know what to call this thing. We don't know to call it a 3-year forecast, a 5-year forecast, a 1 and 3 forecast. My favorite is up there that came through the threads. This is a financial forecast, so we went with that. But just as you look through the report, you can see that some of the formatting is still for November, and in fact, it even has November still in there in places. I tried to edit the PDF to fix those things, but still it's a little rough. Most treasurers have agreed they're going to go ahead and bring to the board all 5 years. We don't know when we get ready to upload it if the state is only going to take the 1 year plus 3. We're not really sure what it's going to look like when they start presenting it on their site. So a little bit different, but that's why we're back tonight. Yay. I'm sure I speak for all of you.
More data.
Data, more data.
It's got some color on it.
Stop.
There is a little color. This is the only slide for tonight. I decided to do something a little shorter.
I like it.
Since we just have been through the long forecast, I'm going to present just this slide, and this slide presents the cumulative difference between the May forecast and this October forecast for all of the 5 years presented. It's mind-boggling to look at this slide and see the differences, but you really have to remember that in 5 years, $500 million goes through this district. So the numbers are really, really big. So as you look at this chart, you can see that from May to this October forecast, our revenues grew by 1.86%. Now, the primary reason for this growth was the state budget. So back in May, when we did the forecast, the governor said he was going to take money, then the legislators said they were going to give money, so I flatlined that state budget. Well, lucky for us, we ended up getting 1.1 million of new state revenues for this year, fiscal year 26, and next year we get an additional $500,000. So next year we get a total of 1.6 million. And then that trends forward. So that creates quite a change in the revenues. I'm sorry.
That's in addition to what was already provided.
That's in addition.
Incremental on top of it, but.
Yeah. So in the course of the 5-year forecast, there's a difference between May and October. It made a $6.1 million difference in the balance. So it took up, that's what explains 1.14% of the increase. And that was by far the largest portion of the change. In addition, even though we have not gotten tip dollars or the total property taxes yet, and you haven't seen that yet, I can go on the county auditor's website and look at what the final settlements are. The final settlements for this fall were up a little bit more than what I expected them to be, so I put in some additional revenues in lines 1.01 and 1.06, increased both the property taxes and the tip revenues, and that accounted for 0.81%. So, and lastly, the way the model works, it's been updated with fiscal year 25 actuals, and in May, it only had estimates, and of course, actual to estimates in a $100 million budget are never exact. So when you put those actuals in and you do the trend upon actuals instead of estimates, you're going to create some slight variation in the trending amounts going forward. So you have a lot of miscellaneous that makes up the rest of that change. Expenditures, looking at the expenditure side, that's up only slightly, 0.72% over the cumulative forecast. This is due in part to a larger than expected increase in health insurance. We typically forecast our health insurance at a 5% increase because trend shows that over the past 12 years, our health insurance increase has been 4.5% average over the last 12 years. This coming year, starting January 1, it's going to be a 9.3% increase. So this was really a rough year for us for health insurance. So bumped the benefits a little bit. Also, the other thing, even though the model is not updated for the changes in House Bill 96, they did put a new option in for trending inflation, and that was to base it upon the Federal Reserve's projection, 5-year projection for expenditures. So instead of using 1 to 2% or trending back, I thought it made more sense to base our expenditures on that amount, and that was 2.26%. So that made some changes, and those cumulative changes were in there as well. So that was just a very, very quick overview of the changes. Yeah, done. But if you still have 25 pages that the state requires that
I'm staying up to
you would like.
What?
You want my highlight?
You can't, any color. Alana, did you say why salaries is down?
Salaries is down just because of estimates. When I I'm doing the estimates. You're looking at, it's in the middle of April. There are things you don't know. You don't know what overtime is going to be. You don't know how many teachers are going to want their payout in June. Some teachers stay on the payroll through August in order to keep the insurance, and that's kind of a personal decision. You've got that, you know, you're forecasting that all positions are going to be filled, and we know that we had some bus driver positions unfilled, and so on and so forth like that. So it's just all those things, and I think we were off by 1% in the fiscal year '25. But again,
And
this
it
is
carries
cumulative.
forward.
Yeah, then it carries forward.
Yep, fine.
Yeah.
So far be it for me to look a gift horse in the mouth, because I'm very grateful that the state came back and pretty a little bit of an increase. And again, that's a thanks to everybody who advocated for that, because there were some very, very rough models that would have hurt our district and others around us.
Really were.
And there absolutely were. So I'm appreciative for what we have, but I would also like to provide a reminder that when you say we're getting $1 million and now it's at $6,100,000, which sounds like very large numbers, I did my quick math here to make sure I was right. 6,100,000 divided by 6,800 students means we get a starting place of $897 per student. So just a friendly reminder that the historical average in the state for educating a student is $13,000 per student. And what the state is offering as their base rate for us is $897 per student. So we still have a long way to go when we talk about what equitable, adequate, fair school funding would really be. But I'm appreciative we're where we are.
That is a very good reminder, and a lot of times when I do the longer presentation, you see where I remind everyone that our residents are still funding 75%. We still are mainly funded by our residents through the tip dollars, which originate with residents, through their property taxes, and the state funds us very little because of, they perceive us to be a wealthier school district with larger local capacity, and if you have that capacity that they based upon income and property values, they expect those to do more, and our folks do quite a bit. And we wish that we would like to see a more equitable state share. You're 100% right. I'm glad you had that reminder. Thank you.
This does help us though, as far as, I mean, it kind of, obviously you don't know what happens 2 years from now when Ohio has their budget, but it certainly kind of firms up, we should not need an additional tax levy until at least 2029 or 2030 based upon, because you go into the data under here, have an extra $6 million certainly allows you to defer that for an additional year. Again, I appreciate once you have 4 or 5 years down the road, the number of variables that can impact the increase drastic, but.
Every 2 years.
Right, that's what I said, so you don't know. But right now, as you're talking, right now, as you're talking to the public, like this last levy that we had, it's gonna last us, ceteris paribus, going forward, it's gonna last us probably about as long as any operating levy we've had in the district, at least as long as, 25 years, I think.
Yeah, I think the longest has lasted 7 years.
Yeah,
and
this one's gonna be
if
great.
we really work with this one, I believe it'll get close to
Yep.
that. But-
Thanks.
So, but like I said, that was very short. If you want the long version, but if you really need the sleep, you've got this one, 25 pages. And just as kind of a reminder, it does have a page for each line item in the 5-year forecast. And if you are wondering what happened in a particular line item, just look at the index, go to that page, and it has a full page on that particular one. Anyhow, that's short and sweet on the forecast tonight. Any further questions or comments? All right, moving on to the monthly reports then. What did I touch? Oh, it's not there. Because it's back there. Yeah. No, I can go. There we go. All right. The treasurer's report begins with item A, donations as always. And we received just over 2,800 in donations in the month of August. just wanted to point out one thing. It is a board requirement by the High Revised Code that the board approve all donations. I've had some questions sometimes about, well, I know this school district was given this or that, and if it comes in maybe from a foundation, it comes in as a grant, and if it gets posted as a grant, you won't see it up here. But certainly, we are just as appreciative of those grants, and maybe we can think of some other way to honor those. But I have had some questions saying, wait a minute, I know so-and-so gave this. I go back, look, sure enough there, but it's a grant, not a donation.
That's a good clarification, thank you.
All right, item B gives you the snapshot of our 5-year forecast, which has been modified to include the actual results of our fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025 as requested. Moving on, item C presents the general fund, our 5-year forecast for our 4-year forecast, financial forecast revenues by comparing our estimate on the forecast with year-to-date actuals. August was a high cash flow month as expected. During August, we received over $27 million in advance of the county's final reconciliation of the fall property tax settlements. We have later in September, of course, gotten the final settlement. Just to remember, we do get 2 settlements of property taxes in a year, one in the fall and the second one in the spring. Item D presents the general fund and the forecast expenditures by comparing the estimate to actuals. Expenditures in the general fund, you hear this every month, absolutely stable. You can almost divide total annual expenditures by 12. So with 2 months into our fiscal year, 17% of our fiscal year complete, we have spent 16% of our estimate. So good so far, tracking as expected. Moving on to item E, presents the activity of the general fund cash balance. Balance at the beginning of the year, $31.2 million, is what existed as the cash balance at 7/1. After adding the revenues received and deducted through August 31st, our cash balance stands at $47 million. And as I said before, that's a pretty high cash balance for us, but we get 2 settlements. Next 5 months, our expenditures will exceed our revenues and we'll be spending it down. At August 31st, our unreserved balance stands at $37.1 million, or to put the balances the other way that you see there on the slide, we have enough cash to operate the district for 169 days, and after encumbrances or reservations, we have 133 days of unreserved cash to operate the district. Item F presents the detailed activity in our main permanent improvement special cost center. This item also tracks the financial activity of our summer projects. As we move to the second PI slide, you can see that we have finally completed all the payments from summer 24. And you have a final and complete accounting of last summer's projects, and this is the last time you will see a slide for 2024. Yay.
Came in under estimates.
I'm sorry?
It came in under the estimated
Yes, it did.
by,
Whoops, I already moved off of it. Sorry. The third PI slide, this one up here, shows where we stand on budget expenditures and encumbrances at the end of August. Of course, we don't make final payment until we have complete sign-off. So at the end of the summer, even though most of the projects are complete, we still have $1.4 million in outstanding encumbrances. At August 31st, excuse me, we have paid out $3.1 million in expenditures, and the total revised summer project for 2025 was $4.6 million. So this slide will be in here for the next month, and if John gets the buses ordered, we'll have a slide for our 26 projects next
Do we
month.
have, because in here there's encumbrance for 5 buses. But
the ones, I think the ones he's talking about are for purchase for 26.
Yeah.
These are for,
these are last year's buses, so we have 5, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so we
thank you,
got-
thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, wait a minute, he just said 4. My dumb question,
Sure.
my dumb accounting nerdy question.
Uh-oh.
Can't help it, I see things I get excited. Why is a bleacher safety inspection not an operating item? Because it doesn't improve the life of any asset, so I don't understand how it meets the definition of permanent fund.
The cost of a permanent improvement fund is everything that it takes to put that asset, keep that asset in place and ready for use.
So we're going, all right, calling that ready for use, right?
Yeah.
Just weird.
Yeah,
All right, I'm fine with it, I just,
that's a good accountant nerdy question.
I was acknowledged as a
And I had an accountant.
I was called boring last night, tonight I'm a nerd, I'm on fire.
And I had an accountant nerdy answer.
Oh, you
so.
did? Thanks.
Yeah. Item G presents the investment earnings for the first 2 months of our fiscal year 26 and the prior 3 years of history. Interest is starting off strong with a total of $544,000 collected over the past 2 months. However, today the Federal Reserve cut the benchmark interest rate by 0.25% and signaled that they may make 2 additional cuts by the end of the calendar year. So that definitely is going to cut into our expectations and probably going to have to dial back our projections on interest a tad. August 31st, bank reconciliation and investments are presented in agenda item H. And I know, Mr. Bell, you had a question about the adjustments, which I was totally brain dead and had to go back and check. The majority of those account for the fact that as we're reconciling to our investment accounts, the investment accounts have a fair market value, and we just have cash until we actually get the money. So that's what makes the bulk of that up. Item I presents the permanent appropriations by fund for our current fiscal year 26. These appropriations are in the limit for the just passed forecast, and the appropriation measure by Ohio Revised Code must be passed by September 30th. So therefore, we're in line with that. Item J, this is an annual item. This presents the rates for our employee benefits plan year. Our plan year for employee benefits actually runs with the calendar year. So these rates are effective coming up January 1st, 2026. Luckily, all of our voluntary rates for our employees remain the same. And in addition, the term life insurance and our AD&D insurance board benefit rates stayed the same. Unfortunately, the good news kind of ends there a little bit. Dental rates increased by 8%. However, we knew that this was going to happen. If you remember, we had a large decrease back in 2023 in our dental rates. MetLife was trying to buy into the market. I think it was like a 12%. I'm not remembering exactly. Yeah, trying to buy into the market. So even though this is an 8% increase and our per member per month cost is $100.24, that is still 86 cents less than we pay per member per month for our plan year 2022. So it's kind of just getting the rates back up there where they've been. And you heard me say this in the forecast, unfortunately, health insurance increased by 9.3%.
Is that, I haven't looked at the union contract in super detail. I assume, is that just a straight pass-through? If they increase the rate, that gets passed right through, there's no...
It's a shared cost, so.
So it's not what, when we pick up half, they pick up half, is it, or whatever that?
It's by contract. We pick up the first 3%, they pick up the next 3%, then it's back to us for 2, back to them for 2. Yeah, and if it exceeds 10, then we meet to make changes to the program to bring it under 10. Yeah. So, again, rough year for us, but to be honest with you, our average increase over the last 12 years is 4.5%. So, be nice to go back to the years where we saw some decreases, but we'll keep watching that. And we are a part of the Swish Health Consortium. It's self-insured consortium. Swish spends a lot of time over the past year, actually I'm president of the consortium this year. They investigate and bid elements of it. It's self-insured, so of course we pay the actual cost, but they bid the third-party administrator, which is Anthem. They bid the softball insurance that we have. We look at the premiums on pharmacy, and as a matter of fact, Swish as a group, the health insurance ran really rough this year. Swish as a group made some changes to pharmacy. Preventive drugs are now going to need to be a 90-day script, and we're certainly hoping that most of those do mail orders, so there's being some things put in place for that. The other thing is if you look at our intra-district web, you will see there's almost 20 programs, web-based programs on there, infomercials, so to speak, to help our employees be smart consumers of health insurance. So we do everything we can, and we'll continue to work to bring those rates down, but this was a bad year. Moving on to item A, this is to request board approval of an expenditure that did not issue a prior PO in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. This was kind of a little bit of a mess up between Hamilton County ESC and Great Oaks. Great Oaks has the money in the career development to pay this. Districts thought that Great Oaks was going to pay directly. Great Oaks was holding the money. So we're not the only district that finds ourselves bringing this and then requesting the money from Great Oaks to send it to Claremont County ESC. Claremont County, Hamilton County ESC, that was a slip of the tongue, sorry. Yeah. All right, and that is the end of the treasurer's financial report. Any questions on the report? Hearing none, I respectfully request that you approve the treasurer's items 11.1 and 11.2 as part of the consent agenda, which began with action item 9.1.
I'll make a motion to approve action items 9.1 through 11.2 as presented.
Dr. Strickler?
Yes.
Mr. Bibb?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Jonas?
Yes.
Dr. Simmons?
Yes.
12.1, board discussion.
I just had a couple quick notes I wanted to let everybody here know along the lines of the special meeting last night. One, I know Mr. Hope is going to come back and talk more about Future Think, but as Jason mentioned earlier, one of my big takeaways as well was that students who start in Forest Hills stay in Forest Hills. We're a very stable district, and that suggests to me that students are doing well here, families are happy here, and I think that's an important piece for us to celebrate. It doesn't mean there aren't pieces we need to look at in terms of enrollment changes for sure, but I thought that was worthy of note, so I just wanted to reemphasize it. The other reason for our meeting last night was to continue working on our evaluation plan and process and tools, so as a board we did continue to move that forward, and I'm excited that as a board we are going to be able to lead with an evidence-based evaluation process as we move forward. So exciting work happening there. As well, with regard to Beach Acres, and Ann spoke to the parks, I know our family is very appreciative of our parks in this district, and it was one of the things that brought us to Anderson Township. Just extending a thank you to everyone who took time to complete the Beach Acres survey this summer. I know it went out in a lot of different forums. The data has been collected. It is currently being analyzed independently, and the steering committee that is a collaborative effort between the trustees, the parks, and the school district is going to be meeting in mid-October to hear the first presentation on that data and start to get a sense for what the community expressed in terms of wants and needs. So that work is also moving forward, which is exciting. And then within the district, I just wanted to share that what really stood out to me in terms of highlights across the district in the last couple of weeks was a focus on connection and belonging in lots of different ways across the two high schools. there was the first opportunity to paint parking spots this year, and I think that's just really exciting. The pictures I saw, like people were out having a great time, and I think it gives our students just a little bit of ownership over their spot for the year, and wanting to come to school and park there and be a part of their day. And that connection of belonging extended to Summit, bringing in therapy dogs, to kind of help create a culture of caring and belonging there. And then Mercer, Sherwood, and Wilson participating in a Rock the Stands night last Friday night at Turpin High School during the football game. And I was there with my daughter and her friends, and it was just fun to see so many up-and-coming eventual high schoolers running around having fun and enjoying being together across the different schools. So lots of great things happening to help our students thrive and feel connected to each other. And since I am a Sherwood parent, just a quick shout out that Sherwood PTO is hosting a kindness and service event tomorrow. It includes a donation drive, so from 4:30 to 7, if you have old books, old but gently used books, stuffed animals, clothing that would benefit community partners, they are collecting in the Sherwood Circle tomorrow, 4:30 to 7. So as usual, our district's doing lots of great things, and a shout out to all of the teachers, staff, and everyone who's making that happen.
I'm quick. I haven't done this yet tonight. Seriously though, I want to thank everybody for adhering to the. Y'all know what I'm saying. No, seriously, it's fun to have these theme nights, I think, and as the self-appointed director of the theme committee. No, it's fun to see everybody red, white, and blue. We are one district. We're all moving towards one common goal, and it's just nice to have everybody on the same page, the same thing. Everybody's very excited to know next month, it's Halloween. So we have an opportunity. Now, if you don't want to go full Halloween, I will allow for 1 month you to go orange and black. Since those are the colors of Halloween, which means if you have fangled stuff, as much as it pains me to say it, I will allow it. So next month, orange and black are Halloween. You'd be happy to know. In November, we'll be having a college theme night, and our favorite night of the year, in December, will be Ugly Christmas Sweater. Oh. So that is where we're heading as we move forward. Hey, it's a serious job that we're doing up here, but it does not mean you cannot have fun while you're having a serious job. So that is all. Thank you for participating in this theme night.
Just, happy Constitution Day. I'm glad you were able to share some of the stuff that students are doing in the classroom, and that's all really to share.
All right. Well, that ends our meeting. Our next regular scheduled meeting is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, here at 6:30. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Jonas?
Yes.
Dr. Simmons?
Yes.
Dr. Strickler?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Clock 45, good job.